Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you also for your patience. I do apologize about slight miscommunication. I know that there was a problem with the Zoom invite that mentioned 11 a.m. I'm so sorry. All our webinars are programmed at 11:30. I'm glad you guys are here. Today, we're going to be reviewing functionality that it's simple to use and very powerful, which is importing chunks of data using Excel, which is a software that we're all more or less familiar with and accustomed to, of using. Together with me today is Luis Enrique Uribe, one of our senior consultants here at Consensus. Good morning, Luis Enrique.
Clara, good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Luis Enrique, you're not on camera. I don't know if you want to say hi briefly on camera. Hi. So for those of you who don't know Luis Enrique, that's how he looks, and I really want to thank him for being here with us today and for preparing this presentation. Fantastic. So just some quick notes before we get started. This webinar is being recorded, so it will be available for you to consult it later. You just need to go to our website and go to webinars and workshops, and you'll find the link to consume this webinar on demand, as we always do. All participants are muted by default, but you can send in your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen or the chat, whichever you prefer. And we will be answering those questions. Luis Enrique will be attending to those questions at the end of the content of the webinar. I'm going to now turn off my camera as well so that we are wise with the bandwidth. I forgot to mention that Luis Enrique is one of our senior consultants. Before becoming a SAP Business One consultant, he was a SAP Business One user for more than 10 years. So he was a very advanced user, and all our customers love working with Luis Enrique. He's also one of our busiest consultants at the moment. So it's really amazing that he took the time to be here with us today and to prepare the session. And without further ado, let's go to Luis Enrique's presentation.
Thank you, Clara, for the introduction. And welcome everyone to this month's webinar as part of the webinar series.
I think, Luis Enrique, you're having some issues with the image. Let's just stop for a moment, and maybe we can share a different screen.
Other tool that you may be familiar with is DTW, the Data Workbench Transfer. Import from Excel is another tool that is available in Business One to do pretty much the same task that you would be able to do with DTW. But in my experience, import from Excel may be better used for a small and less complex data import. And we're going to explore that concept as we go into the webinar. In today's session, we're going to cover two topics about import from Excel. One is that we can use it to import master data records, meaning business partners, items, price lists, all sort of stuff. In this particular session, I'm going to show you how to do an import for an item to update and item master data. And in the second part of the webinar, we're gonna do another transaction where import from Excel would be very useful, and is for the inventory counting. So basically, two different topics today: master data and then inventory counting, both using import from Excel. So the first thing is to know where I can find import from Excel. So to do that, we go to our modules, and we go to administration. Then we have this option for data import, export, and we have data import. Finally, we get to the import from Excel. When you click for import from Excel, you're going to get this window that says import from Excel. As you may notice, this way I'm gonna be getting into the first part of the webinar, how to do master data records updates using import from Excel. So following the path that I just showed you, we're gonna get to this import from Excel window, and right away we're gonna see data type to import. So that's the different type of data that we can use this tool to do any import in Excel. If I click on the drop-down menu, then I see that we can utilize this tool to update, to add business partners, items, price lists, business partner catalog numbers, journal entries, user-defined tables, and PEPO BIS codes. So I'm going to show you today, since this is kind of an introduction to the topic, or a basic explanation about the topic, we're going to use the items. We're going to update or upload items. So once we select the data import that we're going to do, the next step is to upload the file where all that data is. And before we go into the uploading the file, this is one of the conditions that we need to have in mind when doing import from Excel. So as the names implies, I will have to have my data on an Excel file. So let me just bring one up that I have here for the item master. And I need to know what are the fields that I want to update or upload using this tool. In this case, I have a very simple sample data. We're gonna do, we're gonna create 3 new items. One is cons 213, which by description will have consensus tablet. And I'm gonna put it as part of my item group items. And I'm gonna update the property number 1 for this one. And you're gonna put yes, and I'm gonna put some remarks on my item just to know that this is coming from this exercise. One of the things that you would notice, and one of the difference between import from Excel and DTW is, if we try to create or do an update on the item master data, and my item group is going to be part of that update, in DTW, we will need to have the internal code that SAP Business One has assigned to the item group that this item belongs to. When using import from Excel, we don't need the internal code. We can actually use the name of the item group for that particular item. So it's an advantage compared to DTW that you don't have that extra step of going into the internal tables for the item group definition to see what's the internal code for the item group's items. Instead, in import from Excel, you can just put the name of the group. That means that we need to match exactly the same way that the description or the definition for that item group is in the system. Okay, so I have my 5 fields, I have my data. So the next step is to save my Excel file as a text file. Because as well as is done in DTW, for this tool import from Excel, we need to have the extension of the file as a text file. We're not going to be able to do the import straight from an Excel spreadsheet. So we still need to make the or convert my Excel file, my spreadsheet into a text file. However, when doing that, and another difference if you compare with DTW is when doing import from Excel, we don't actually need to have the header line for my columns, for my data. So using import from Excel, when I'm going to save my text file, I'll just delete my header line so I can get just the data, the raw data into my file. So it will be something like this. I'll just create another sheet and I'm just gonna delete this, delete. And now that I have just my raw data, I'll just save this, save as webinar as a text. So I already have this saved. So I'm not gonna do it right now. I'm gonna go back, let's say cancel. And I'm gonna go back to SAP and I'm gonna import my file. So just bear with me. I'm gonna look in my folder where I have that file. And here we are. So I have my text files here. I'm going to select the one that I have for the item import. And one of the important things is we need to remember the same order that we put the data on the file, because we're going to have to do the mapping in these grids right here. And by seeing this, you may already guess correctly that whatever I have on my file in column A needs to match field object that I'm going to map in here. So we had our item number in column A. Column B, we had our item description. In column C, we had an item group. Column D, we had our property number 1. So we scroll down and look for the properties. Look all the fields that you can use to upload or update information. Probably that was a little too fast. So I'm just gonna look for my last field, which is the item remarks. And I'm gonna just scroll a little slower now, so you can see the different options, different fields that you can use to an update using this tool. All the basic fields that you may have in your item master data are in here, so we can utilize this tool to update or upload that information. So item remarks. So now I have my 5 columns all mapped in here. Similar to what we have in DTW, you have different import methods. So we can add new records and update existing records. I can add new records without updating existing records. I can update existing records without adding new records. And again, if we are creating some items that are gonna be new, which have new item groups, manufacturers, and all that stuff, I can ask the system to create all those new variables that are not already part of the system. So in our example, we're gonna just do an update. So I just select that option and I click import. So there are no matches for the data that I just tried to upload, which means that these records do not exist just yet in the database. So at this moment, I'm just gonna try to add new records and try to import again. So if you see here, we got the green light saying that we were able to import 3 records successfully. If I go to my item master data and I look for those items, I'm going to see that I have my 3 new items. Cons 213 with the description, cons 546 with the description, cons 849 with the description. If I go to the first one and I look in the properties, I'm going to have my property 1 checked because that's what it put on my file. If I go to the next one, that one doesn't have property 1 checked because that's what that was not included in the file. And the last one is, so you know, in my remarks, I put webinar import from Excel. So for the next one, 879, you also find that information. As you see, very easy, very simple to do, not as complex as using DTW. I would recommend always, if you have some easy, simple upload or update to do in Business One for master data, this may be the way to go. Even if you have like 100, 200 records of items with 2 or 3 records or fields to upload, this may be an easy way to do it. On the other hand, if you have 500 or 600, you're going to update 15 to 20 records, fields on each of the items or business partners. DTW will be the way to go. So that's my opinion. You may experience, I invite you to play around with the tool and make a decision, an educated decision for yourself about which tool would be easier or better to use depending on the circumstances. Okay, now let's move to the second part. So, which is going to be the inventory counting. Let me just go back, cancel here. So the inventory counting, so you already have this window open here. It's a little different, the approach, but in essence, the end result will be the same. When you open your inventory count window, you see these buttons right here. You can add items. And add items, because it's doing this automatically, yeah. You have 2 options. You can select items, so you can import items. So select items is the system will help you select the items that are going to be part of the count. But when you do import items, that allows you to import information that you already have in an Excel spreadsheet. Let's say you have some consignment warehouses, or you have third-party logistics warehouses managed outside your your control. So you cannot do like physical counts or cycle counts every week or every 10 days or whatever. You get a report from this 3PL every 2 weeks, every month, with the items and the quantity that they have in stock. You can still control that within SAP Business One as one of your warehouses. But since you're not doing the count, somebody else is doing the count and sending it to you, you can upload that information into Business One. So I will select the import items. And from here on, it's pretty much the same structure situation that we faced when we were doing the exercise with the master data. So I will select the type of input. In this case, this is very specific for this document. It's an inventory count. There are no more options. File to import. So before we import the file, we will need to have kind of the same situation. So let me go to my Excel spreadsheet for this one. So again, we have the header, kind of a little help, so we know what's the information we're typing in. But when creating the text file, this header needs to be removed. So I'm going to count two of the items, the A00001 and the B10000. Both are going to go to warehouse 1. And I'm going to say that I counted 30 for the first one, 50 for the second one. The first one is not batch control. The second one is batch control. So I'm going to put the batch number for the 50 that I just counted. Once again, I already have this as my text file, so I'm not going to go and save it. I'm just going to go come here. And I have my counting here. I upload it. And once again, I just map the fields here that are going to match what I have in the text file of the spreadsheet. Column A is going to be my item code. Column B is going to be my warehouse code. Column C is going to be the quantity that I counted. And for the one item that is batch control, then column D will be the batch number for that quantity. I'm going to add the records, and I'm just going to click on import. So you see here, the message says we got a green light saying 2 lines were imported and no lines were not imported, which means we had 2, so all the lines were imported. I have my item number. I have my item description. I have my warehouse. We didn't have this as part of the file. With the item, the system just will populate this automatically. I have my warehouses, my counted quantity, and the system is just bringing the quantities that I have in my warehouse, and it's just doing the calculation of what's going to be the adjustment to be made. All the numbers are in red because the variance percentage is greater than the one that we have set in the system to be shown as red numbers in this inventory counting document. Remember, the default amount is 5%, but you can always change that in the settings of the company. So fairly easy, fairly quick. I just uploaded the result of my counting. At this moment, I just go and add the count and then do the posting of the count. And simple as that, my count is already recorded in SAP. Very easy, very quick to do, convenient if you allow me the term. Using this when I'm not doing physically the count. And even if we're doing a count physically in our own warehouse, we may have done uh, mid-year counting that it's better just to have like a bulk upload of the counting instead of just printing some paper and go to just a few lines or a few items or an item group, whatever the criteria you use to do your cycle counts. But if you're doing a bulk um, upload of information of the counts, then this may be a good alternative for you. So in summary, you can use import from Excel for several transactions. As part of this webinar, what we can call kind of the basics of import from Excel, we review two options. We review imported master data. We did an example with an item. We imported 3 new items. And then we did an inventory counting, opening the inventory counting window. And from that window, just importing the count that we had on our hands. So again, it's my opinion and my experience. Import Excel works beautifully when you have few items and few fields for those items, for those records. So you can do a quick, an easy, less complex upload of new items or upgraded new items. If you are gonna do like a makeover of your data, and you're gonna do 3,000 items and 25 fields, most likely DTW would be the better option. But this is very import from Excel is very flexible. It gives a very good alternative to sometimes very complex and time-consuming templates that you have to do to DTW. Even though you still need to do some type of preparation for the files, um, the fact that sometimes you don't need to have the internal code or something to put on the template, but you can always put the actual name of the group, an example of that item, makes it easier and more compelling sometimes to use this tool than DTW. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar as much as I did. And I'm gonna open now the session for the Q&A, so we can wrap up the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you, Luis Enrique, for your presentation. And we do have some questions I want to share the next slide. I'm sorry, give me just a second. Yes, okay. So we do have some questions for you, Luis Enrique. I'm going to start reading them so that everyone knows what we're talking about. The first question from a user is, can opportunities or service calls be updated through import from Excel using this tool?
At this time, those two types of documents are not part of the ones that are available to do import from Excel.
Okay, so no, the answer is no.
No.
So only master data, correct?
Master data and as I show, inventory counting.
Okay.
Those are the ones that you can use for Excel.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. Another question is, why is import from Excel recommended for fewer entries and DTW for larger amounts of data?
So more than a recommendation, it's kind of a personal preferences.
Okay.
You can use both. In my experience, when you have too many fields, even if it's, too many items, even if it's just 2 or 3 fields. When I say too many, I'm talking about thousands.
Okay.
If you use Excel or import from Excel, it's going to take way too much time than if you do it in DTW. So at that point, you need to kind of put on a balance the time that you spend preparing the DTW template versus the time that the system will spend doing the upload and using import from Excel. So that's why I mentioned, I invite you or everyone in the webinar just to test it out. You may not think that is that too much time. It's just, for me, it is too much time. So
okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Luis. So someone is asking how can we access the recording at a later time? You will receive an email with a link to the recording, and you can also find all the links to previous webinars that have been recorded on our website at consensusintl.com. Under resources, there is a menu that reads webinars and workshops, and all recorded webinars are available there. Then we have another question that is asking, can I transfer bank statements from Excel to do bank reconciliation?
As far as I know, no, but I'm not 100% certain. So
okay, we
we
can come back to you, Angela, on that.
Yeah. So do you know who's asking? We can.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have the user's name. So we will email you to confirm, but the feeling is that probably not, but we will confirm that with you. Okay. Then another user is saying, when I am importing ship to addresses for a business partner, I get an error, invalid BP bank record, but none of the fields I am importing contain this info. Also, is there a place where I can look up errors of this type?
So similarly to what happens using DTW, to upload certain fields, there's a prerequisite that you need to have either on that record or on the file that you're uploading. So addresses on the business partners is a tricky one, I know. And you either include that bank information on the fields that you're uploading, or you make sure that that information is already part of the business partner that you want to update in the address.
Okay, good. So Albert is also suggesting a webinar on DTW, and you know that we take your suggestions to heart. So you will see a link to a survey on your email that you will receive after this webinar. You will see a link to a survey where you can suggest other content. So I take note of that, Albert, and we'll definitely take it into account. And the last question that I see is, if you want to update a field on a master data list, what is the one anchor field that you need to make sure is there? Can you use the item description or name, or is it important to include the item code or business partner code for matching and accuracy?
So as you saw, there's a different list of fields that you can use doing or using for this tool. I would recommend one that we know for certain will not change, will not vary. It's the item code or the BP code. If we use descriptions or business partners' names, we may have misspelled a word within the description of the name, and that will create an error. So it's easier just to go to use as a parent key or as an anchor, as the person is asking, the BP code or the item code, something that we know is going to be hard to change.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Luis, for your time and for your presentation. If anyone has additional questions, please send us an email, and we'll get back to you. And for the questions that we left a little open, we will definitely be getting back to you, Angela, on that. I just wanted to take this opportunity to let you know of a different type of session that we're doing now, also monthly. We call it Exploring SAP Business One User Training Resources. And those of you who attend webinars are usually users that are willing to keep on learning SAP. And the fact is that SAP Business One and Consensus, we all produce a lot of content for you to be trained on your own and to keep learning SAP. And it can be a little overwhelming to know exactly where to start or where to go for different types of content. So we have prepared this session. It's a long session. It's a 90-minute session, but we're doing it monthly, once a month. So you can attend every month if you want, but either month that suits your agenda. And what we do on that session is introduce you to the different free training resources that are available to you, how to find them, and what to expect from each source. So if you want to register, or you know a user who can benefit from registering, maybe a new user who joined your company recently and they didn't have access to the training originally or something like that, please direct them to our website at consensusintl.com, and under webinars and workshops, you will find the link to register to this session. Luis, thank you very much for being with us today. And thank you everybody else for joining us and for attending this webinar. Have a wonderful day, everybody.